The night was cold on the human colony planet Erebos 9. Neon lights flashed over the crowded streets, painting everything in blue and red. The air smelled of smoke and oil. Machines rolled by and people hurried to their homes, ignoring the shadows sitting near the broken walls. Among those shadows sat a small alien woman named Lyra. Her clothes were torn, her skin pale with a faint silver glow. She held a metal cup with both hands, whispering softly, "Please, a few credits for food." No one stopped. Some humans gave her disgusted looks. Others threw sharp words at her. "Go back to your kind," one man shouted. "Aliens shouldn't be here," said another. Lyra lowered her head, hiding her face under her hood. She was used to their hate. To them, she was nothing. Just another poor alien beggar living under human rule. Above her, the huge screen on the city tower showed a strong man giving a speech. Commander Rian Thorne, leader of the colony defense forces. His voice echoed through the streets. "Humans must protect this colony. We must not let alien powers rise again." People cheered. Lyra only sighed. Her kind had no power anymore. The Lumerians, her people, were wiped out long ago, or so everyone thought. She didn't remember much of her past, only fire, light, and pain, and a deep voice calling her name before everything went dark. Now she begged to survive. Every night she sat under the same flickering neon sign, and every morning she woke up to the same hunger. But this night was different. A loud boom tore through the sky. The ground shook. People screamed as explosions burst in the distance, near the military docks. Fire lit up the horizon and pieces of metal rained down from the air. Lyra ducked under a fallen board covering her head. The sound was deafening. A flaming piece of debris crashed right next to her and she cried out in fear. Then she saw him. A man in a dark armor suit ran through the smoke. Tall, strong, with a scar over his jaw. His blue eyes glowed faintly under his visor. He was human, but different from the others. His uniform showed his name, R. Thorne, the same man from the city screens. Ryan rushed toward her and pulled her out from the rubble. "You're hurt," he said, his voice deep and firm. I'm fine," she whispered, shaking. Her small hands trembled as she looked up at him. The explosion had made a crater nearby. People were running in all directions and alarms wailed through the city. Rian looked around, scanning for more survivors. "What are you doing here, alien?" "This zone is unsafe." Lyra stared at him. "I have nowhere else to go." Before he could reply, a glowing piece of wreckage suddenly flew toward them. Ryan tried to push her aside, but the metal froze midair just inches from Lyra's face. Both of them stared in shock. The metal dropped harmlessly to the ground. Lyra's eyes glowed gold for a brief second. Then the light faded and she looked terrified. Rian stepped back, confused. What was that?" "I don't know," she whispered, clutching her hands. "Please don't tell anyone." He looked at her closely now. Under the dirt and fear, her face seemed almost luminous, not like other aliens he had seen. "Who are you?" he asked quietly. She didn't answer. More soldiers arrived at the scene, shouting orders. "Commander Thorne, we've lost control of the docks. Unknown energy signature detected near here." Ryan turned back toward Lyra, but she was gone. He looked around, scanning the smoke and debris. She had vanished into the crowd like a ghost. Only the faint sound of her cup rolling on the ground remained. He picked it up. It was dented and old, but inside he saw something strange. A small shard of crystal glowing softly with golden light. Rian closed his hand around it. That same golden color he saw in her eyes. For the first time in years, he felt a strange unease. The explosion, the energy spike, and now this alien beggar who could stop metal in midair. None of it made sense. "Sir," said one of his soldiers, "should we report this to the council?" Ryan hesitated. If he reported it, that alien would be hunted, and probably killed. But something inside him told him not to. He looked once more at the empty alley where she had sat. "No," he said at last. "There's nothing to report, just another beggar." But deep inside he knew he was lying. As the fires burned through the city and the screams faded into the night, Ryan walked away, holding that tiny glowing shard. Somewhere out there the alien girl was hiding, and he couldn't stop thinking about her eyes. Something told him this was only the beginning. Rain poured over Erebos 9 the next morning. The streets glowed wet under the flickering lights, and smoke still rose from the night's explosion. Commander Rian Thorne hadn't slept. His mind kept replaying the same image. A poor alien girl with golden glowing eyes who stopped flying metal with a single glance. He sat in the military base, watching the footage from last night's attack. The reports made no sense. There was talk of an energy surge, something not seen since the Lumerian Wars decades ago. But the data ended suddenly near the old Market Street, right where he met her. Rian turned off the screen. He opened his palm and looked at the crystal shard he had found in her cup. It still pulsed with a faint golden light. He didn't tell anyone about it. The council would take it away. They would call her a threat, and yet there was something pure in her fear, something honest. She hadn't looked like a weapon. She had looked lost. Far away, Lyra sat in an empty maintenance tunnel beneath the city. Water dripped from above as she held her knees close to her chest. Her small body shook. She was weak, hungry, and scared. She didn't understand what had happened last night. The metal had stopped in the air, but she hadn't meant to do it. It was like her body reacted on its own. She closed her eyes and saw flashes, a world of light, tall towers made of crystal, and faces of people who looked like her. Then fire and the roar of human warships in the sky. Her memory ended with one image, her mother shouting, "Run, Lyra! Don't let them find you!" Before everything went white, Lyra's heart ached. She thought her people were all gone. Maybe she was the last. Footsteps echoed in the tunnel. She gasped and hid behind a pipe. A small drone hovered near her, scanning the area. Her breath froze. Then a voice spoke softly, "You're safe. It's me." Rian stepped out of the shadows, holding his helmet under his arm. "You followed me," she whispered. "I had to," he said. "You saved my life." Lyra looked down. "I didn't mean to." "I don't know how I did it." Rian crouched beside her. "Then let's find out." He led her to an abandoned medical station hidden in the lower city, a place he used to use for refugees. Inside, old machines hummed weakly. Rian placed the glowing shard on a scanner table. "Sit here," he said. Lyra hesitated, then sat. The machine scanned her quietly. Lines of data scrolled across the screen. Ryan's eyes widened. "Your neural pattern?" he whispered. "It's unlike anything I've seen. It's Lumerian." Lyra looked confused. "Lumerian?" He turned the screen to her. "Your kind, on the Lumerians, were said to control energy through thought. They could heal, build, and destroy with light alone. Humans feared them. We fought them, until no one was left." Lyra shook her head slowly. "I don't want to destroy anything." "I know," Rian said gently. "But if the council learns what you are, they'll see you as a weapon. They'll hunt you." Lyra's hands trembled. "I've been hunted my whole life. I don't want to run anymore." Rian looked at her. The sadness in her eyes, the strength behind her fear. Something inside him shifted. "Then I'll help you," he said. "But we have to hide you first." Outside, thunder rolled across the city. In the upper towers, the human council met in secret. Holograms flickered around a round table. "Commander Thorne's report is incomplete," said one counselor. "He was at the blast site. Why did his sensors cut out?" Another leaned forward. "Our scanners detected alien energy in that area. Possibly Lumerian." "Impossible," said the first. "The Lumerians are extinct." "Then why does the energy signature match them perfectly?" The room fell silent. "Find her," the leader said at last. "If even one Lumerian survives, she could undo everything we built." Back in the underground room, Lyra lay on the bed while Rian adjusted the scanner lights. Her eyes fluttered open, catching the soft glow of the machines. "Why are you helping me?" she asked. He smiled faintly. "Because last night, when everyone ran from the fire, you didn't scream for yourself. You just stood there, ready to die for strangers. That's not something an enemy does." Lyra's eyes softened. "You're kind for a human," he chuckled. "Don't say that too loudly. It might ruin my reputation." For the first time, she smiled. A small, warm smile that made him forget the cold outside. But before he could say more, a sharp beep filled the room. The radar on his wrist flashed red. "Drones," he said quietly. "They've tracked the energy signal." Lyra stood up, fear returning to her face. Rian grabbed his weapon and motioned toward the back exit. "We have to move now." She looked at him with trust, the kind that scared him more than any war. As they ran through the rain, the sound of engines roared above. Bright searchlights cut through the darkness. The hunters had begun their chase, and for the first time Rian realized protecting her meant betraying his own people. The night over Erebos 9 burned with flashing sirens. Searchlights swept across the rooftops, and the hum of drones echoed like a storm of angry bees. Commander Rian Thorne gripped Lyra's hand tightly as they ran through the narrow alleys of the lower city. "Don't look back," he shouted. Lyra's breath came fast. Her heart pounded. Behind them, mechanical wings cut through the rain. The hunter drones were closing in. A red beam struck the wall beside them, exploding sparks. Lyra stumbled, but Rian caught her arm and pulled her to her feet. They turned down another street filled with trash and broken signs. "Why are they chasing us?" she gasped. "They found your energy signature," Rian said. "They know you're not human." Lyra's eyes widened. "Then they'll never stop." "No," he said, "they won't." They reached the end of the alley, a dead end. High metal walls surrounded them. Drones circled above, their lights scanning the shadows. Rian pulled out his wrist device and tapped a few commands. A hidden gate slid open, revealing a small hover bike covered with a tarp. "You can fly?" he asked quickly. "I can try," Lyra said nervously. "Good enough." They jumped on. The bike lifted into the air with a burst of blue flame. Drones locked onto them instantly, releasing missiles that streaked through the rain. Rian steered hard, dodging between the narrow towers. Lyra held on to him tightly, feeling the wind whip through her hair. The city below glowed like a sea of neon light, blue, green, and orange. The reflection of the storm shimmered across the skyscrapers. "Hold on," Rian yelled. A missile exploded behind them, sending waves of heat. The bike shook violently. Lyra closed her eyes. She could feel the energy of the machines around her, humming, pulsing, alive in some strange way. Her body began to tremble. Rian noticed the air around her glowing faintly gold. "Lyra, what are you doing?" I don't know." The glow grew brighter. The next missile froze mid-air, its light flickering like a dying spark. Then it exploded backward, taking out 2 drones. Rian's eyes widened. I didn't mean to," she cried. "It just happens when I'm scared." "Well, stay scared," he said, grinning slightly. "It's working." The bike shot out of the lower city and into the open-air lanes above the towers. Traffic screamed around them. Flying cars, cargo ships, and police cruisers. "Stay low," Rian shouted, weaving through the chaos. "If they lock onto us again, we're done." Lyra glanced down. The people below looked like tiny dots moving through rivers of light. "This world is so different from mine," she whispered. "What was your world like?" "Quiet," she said softly. "Beautiful. We didn't fight. We built cities of light. We believed in peace. Until humans came." Rian stayed silent. He couldn't defend his people's past. He had seen the old war files. He knew what they did to her kind. Before he could answer, a massive drone appeared ahead. A hunter-class unit, armed with plasma cannons. Rian cursed under his breath. "That's not a scout. That's a killer," the drone fired. Blue beams cut through the sky. Rian swerved sharply, barely avoiding the blasts. "Hang on!" he shouted. He dove the bike downward, through a gap between 2 giant towers. Lyra screamed as wind roared around them. Her eyes flashed again, and the drone's sensors suddenly flickered. It spun out of control and crashed into a building. They burst through the smoke, hearts racing. Finally, they reached the city's edge, where the bright towers ended and the wastelands began. The rain turned to fog. Crumbled factories and old transport ships lay silent across the dark fields. Rian landed the hover bike behind a rusted structure. The engines hissed and went quiet. For a moment, there was only silence, broken only by the soft hum of the rain. Lyra stepped off the bike, trembling. "I didn't want to hurt anyone." Rian looked at her, breathing hard. "You saved us both, Lyra. Don't feel guilty for surviving." She met his eyes, uncertain. "But your people, they'll hate you for helping me." He gave a tired smile. "They already do." Rian pulled out a small device from his belt, a communicator flashing red. He smashed it against the ground. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Cutting my signal. The army can track this." "I'm not going back." "You're leaving everything behind," she whispered. He looked out at the empty fields. Maybe everything worth leaving. The wind carried the sound of distant engines. Rian turned to her. "We can't stay here. There's a place outside the city and an old refugee colony. If anyone will hide us, it's them." Lyra nodded slowly. For the first time, she didn't feel like a beggar or a fugitive. She felt like someone who mattered. As they prepared to move, lightning flashed in the distance, and through the glow they saw more ships rising from the city. The hunt was far from over. Rian took a deep breath. "Let them come," he said. "They'll find we're not the ones running anymore." Lyra looked at him, her golden eyes glowing softly in the dark. "Then we fight for something better," she said, and together, they disappeared into the storm. Two souls from different worlds, bound by fate, hunted by power, but burning with hope. The fog over Erebos 9's wastelands was thick like smoke. The ground stretched endlessly, filled with ruins and metal bones of forgotten machines. The air was silent except for the hum of the old hoverbike slowly gliding over the cracked earth. Commander Rian Thorne sat in front, his eyes sharp and alert. Behind him, Lyra held on tightly, her golden eyes dim in the mist. Neither spoke. The night had been long, the chase endless. Both were exhausted, yet they couldn't stop. At last, faint lights appeared in the distance, small, flickering like fireflies hiding among rocks. Rian slowed the bike and whispered, "That's it. The old refugee camp." Lyra looked around. "It doesn't look alive." "It's hidden," Rian said. "That's how they survive." He drove the bike toward a hill covered in metal scraps. When they stopped, he tapped a sequence on his wrist device. The ground shook softly, and a metal door slid open beneath the sand. A soft blue glow spilled out. Lyra's eyes widened. "A secret city," Rian smiled faintly. "Welcome to the hidden colony." Inside, the air was warm and humming with life. The underground city stretched like a maze. Homes built from ship parts, glowing pipes running across ceilings, and children playing near old power cores. But what shocked Lyra most was the faces. Humans. Aliens. Together, a tall alien with stone-gray skin approached. "Rian Thorne," he said in a deep voice. "You dare come back here?" "Good to see you too, Kale," Rian replied calmly. "I need a place to hide." "She needs help." Kale looked at Lyra suspiciously. "Another stray?" Rian shook his head. "She's not just anyone. She's Lumerian." The whole corridor fell silent. A few people gasped. Others stepped back, fear in their eyes. Kale's voice grew sharp. "That can't be true." "They're gone." "She's alive," Rian said, his tone steady. "And she's not a threat." Lyra stood still, looking down. She hated that word, threat. It followed her everywhere. Kale studied her quietly. Finally, he said, "If she's what you claim, then she's our only hope, or our end." They led her to a quiet room filled with glowing plants. It was peaceful, almost sacred. Lyra touched one of the leaves, feeling it pulse under her fingers. "This place feels alive," she whispered. "It's grown from old Lumerian seeds," Rian said. "They said these plants never die. They keep light in them." Lyra smiled softly. "Like my people did." Rian sat beside her. "Tell me about them," he said gently. Lyra hesitated. Her memories were broken, like shattered glass. But pieces were starting to come back. "I remember light," she began. "Our cities floated in the sky. We didn't need machines. We used energy from within. It wasn't power, it was connection. Every heart added to the world's light." Rian listened carefully. "But then the humans came," she said softly. "They wanted that light. They said they would share it. But instead they took it. They built weapons with it. And when we refused to help them fight, they burned our skies." Her voice cracked. Rian clenched his fists. He had heard whispers of such stories in old war files, but the truth had always been hidden. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. Lyra looked at him, her golden eyes gentle. "You weren't there." Later, Rian met with Kale in the council room. "The humans are scanning the wastelands," Kale warned. "If they find this place, they'll destroy it." "They're looking for her," Rian said. "They think she's a weapon." Kale's eyes narrowed. "Maybe she is. That light in her, do you even know what it can do?" "She doesn't want to fight," Rian said firmly. "She wants peace," Kale sighed. "Peace doesn't exist, Commander. Not between your kind and ours." Rian looked out over the colony. Children laughed below, human and alien together. "Then maybe she can change that." That night, Lyra stood on the balcony, staring at the stars that peeked through the cracks of the metal roof. Her body ached, but her spirit felt lighter than ever. Rian joined her quietly. "Can't sleep?" "I'm not used to safety," she said with a sad smile. He leaned on the railing beside her. "You should get used to it." She looked at him curiously. Why do you risk so much for me? You could be executed for helping an alien. Rian's eyes softened. Because I've seen enough war. I don't want another. You remind me that something better still exists. Lyra turned toward him. For the first time, she felt warmth, real warmth in her heart. Thank you, she whispered. Suddenly, a loud ping echoed through the colony's intercoms. Kale's voice shouted, "Attention! Human patrols spotted near the outer tunnels." Ryan's hand went to his weapon. Lyra's golden light flickered in her eyes. "They found us," she said quietly. Ryan nodded. "Then we fight for peace this time." As the colony prepared for battle, Lyra's light grew brighter, casting golden waves across the walls. Every alien and human who saw it felt hope stir inside them. For the first time, the light of the Lumerians shone again, hidden beneath the ground, waiting to rise. The wind in the underground tunnels carried a strange sound. Fear. Voices echoed through the hidden colony as alarms rang. Metal doors slammed shut, children were rushed inside, and soldiers ran toward their posts. The colony that had been peaceful for years was suddenly alive with panic. Commander Rian Thorne grabbed his rifle and stepped out of the control room. His eyes met Lyra's as she stood in the doorway, her silver skin glowing faintly under the red emergency lights. "They've found us," she said softly. Ryan nodded grimly. "Human patrols. Dozens of them. They're scanning for your energy signature." Lyra's hands trembled. "If they find me, everyone here will die." Ryan loaded his weapon. "Then we don't let them." Outside in the wasteland above, the human army moved like a storm. Dropships broke through the fog, releasing waves of soldiers and drones. Their armor reflected the lightning, and their leader, General Kor, stood tall at the front. "Commander Thorne has betrayed us," Kor said coldly. "He hides the Lumerian. Bring her to me alive. Kill anyone who resists." The army advanced. Back in the colony, Kale gathered the fighters. "They're coming through the west tunnel," he shouted. Rian pointed to the control console. "Seal the east exits. Hold the civilians back." Lyra watched the chaos around her. Humans and aliens side by side, fighting to protect one another. It was the opposite of everything she remembered from the old wars. "This is my fault," she whispered. Rian turned to her sharply. "No, Lyra. This is what they fear, that we can stand together." "But I can stop this," she said. Her voice trembled, but her eyes glowed brighter. "If I use my light, maybe they'll listen." He hesitated. "Or maybe they'll kill you." Lyra looked up at him, calm now. "Then let me try." The first explosion rocked the tunnels. Dust fell from the ceiling, and people screamed. Soldiers rushed to the barricades as plasma fire lit up the darkness. Ryan fired back, covering Kale's team. "Hold the line," he shouted. Drones swooped down, blasting through walls. The colony shook. And then, through the smoke, Lyra stepped forward. Her hood fell back, and her golden light spread through the dust like dawn breaking through storm clouds. The soldiers paused for a moment, confused by the sight. "Lyra, stay behind cover," Ryan shouted, but she didn't. She raised her hands slowly.
"Stop fighting,"
she called, her voice echoing in the tunnel. No one listened. Plasma bolts flew. Lyra closed her eyes. The world around her went silent for a heartbeat. Then a burst of pure light erupted from her body, expanding outward like a wave. The drones froze midair. The gunfire stopped. Every weapon, every machine flickered and shut down. When the light faded, the soldiers were still standing and unharmed but stunned. She fell to her knees, exhausted. Rian ran to her side and caught her before she hit the ground. "You did it," he whispered. Her voice was weak. "I only stopped the fight." For a moment, he looked up. The human soldiers were lowering their weapons, staring at her with awe and fear. General Kor stepped forward from the shadows. "So the stories were true," he said coldly. "The Lumerians still live." Ryan aimed his rifle at him. "Don't take another step," Kor smirked. "You protect her? You've forgotten who you are, Thorne. She's a threat to humanity." Rian's voice was hard. "No, she's the only reason we're still alive." Kor raised his hand. "Then you're a traitor." Before he could fire, Kale and his fighters surrounded the humans. Both sides stood frozen, waiting for someone to act. Then Lyra stood again, her light flickering weakly. "Please," she said. "Enough blood. We can live together. The war doesn't have to start again." Her words carried through the silence like a heartbeat. Ryan looked around. Soldiers, both human and alien, slowly lowered their guns. The air was thick with confusion, fear, and something new. Hope. Hours later, the battlefield was quiet. The wounded were treated together. Human medics helping alien children, alien healers saving human soldiers. For the first time in decades, they worked as one. Lyra rested near the central fire, wrapped in a blanket. Her light had dimmed, but her spirit hadn't. Rian sat beside her. "You changed everything today," she smiled faintly. "Maybe I only reminded them what they forgot, that peace is possible." He looked at her, admiration shining in his eyes. "You're not just a survivor, Lyra, you're hope." She turned to him, her voice soft. "Hope needs someone to believe in it." They sat in silence for a while, the golden glow of her light flickering against his armor. Outside, the rain had stopped. Above the colony, the storm clouds began to part, revealing a small patch of stars and bright, clear, and full of promise. But in the shadows beyond the hills, a dark drone lens blinked silently, recording everything. Someone, or something, Khan was still watching. The smoke of battle had faded, but the world above Erebos 9 was still burning with rumors. The news spread across the colonies. A Lumerian had appeared, and a human commander had betrayed his own kind to protect her. Inside the Capitol Tower, the human council gathered in secret. The circular chamber was silent except for the hum of holograms flickering in the dark. Around the table sat the most powerful humans alive. "Commander Rian Thorne has gone rogue," said Counselor Darren, his tone sharp. "He protects a Lumerian female who can disable our technology. If she isn't contained, she'll undo everything we built after the wars." Across from him, Counselor Mann spoke calmly. "And yet, she saved hundreds of soldiers, both human and alien, during the colony attack. She didn't kill anyone. Out of pity," Darren snapped. "Today she disables our drones. Tomorrow she could destroy our ships. We cannot let her live." The council leader, an older woman named Lyra Voss, raised a hand. "Enough, bring them both in. Let us see this threat ourselves." 2 days later, the steel doors of the council hall opened with a deep echo. Rian entered first, hands cuffed, armor stripped, eyes tired but steady. Behind him walked Lyra, wrapped in a plain cloak, her silver skin dim under the harsh light. She had never seen such a place. Tall glass walls, shining floors, and guards everywhere. Yet she walked with calm grace, her steps quiet but sure. The council members stared at her as though she were a ghost. "So," Counselor Darren said coldly, "this is the creature that commands light." Ryan's jaw tightened. "Her name is Lyra." "She has no right to a name," Darren hissed. "Not after what her kind did." Lyra met his gaze. "My kind did not destroy your worlds," she said softly. "We tried to heal them." Her voice carried through the hall like gentle thunder. Alara leaned forward. "Lyra, is it true you stopped the fighting at the refugee colony?" Lyra nodded slowly. "I only stopped the machines. I didn't want anyone else to die, and you could have destroyed them if you wished." Lyra hesitated, then answered truthfully, "Yes." Gasps rippled through the chamber. Alara's eyes softened, though her tone stayed firm. "Then why didn't you?" "Because power without mercy means nothing," Lyra said simply. "I have seen enough death." For a long moment no one spoke. Even the guards seemed unsure whether to fear her or respect her. Rian took a step forward despite his cuffs. "You've seen her power. You've seen her mercy. If she wanted war, we would already be dead. But she saved us. She saved me." "Commander Thorne," Darren interrupted, "you disobeyed direct orders, you sheltered an alien, and you fired on your own soldiers. That's treason." "I followed my conscience," Rian said firmly. "Not treason, truth." Alara studied him carefully. "You love her, don't you?" Rian didn't answer at first. Then slowly he nodded. "Yes, I do," whispers filled the chamber. Some mocked, others whispered in shock. Lyra looked down, her heart pounding. She had never heard anyone say those words for her. Not as a beggar, not as a survivor, but as someone worth protecting. Alara sighed. "This is no small matter. The people will demand her execution. Yet if what she says is true, she could end the war that still divides our kind." Darren slammed his fist on the table. "You can't be serious." "You'd make peace with a weapon?" Alara stood slowly. "Perhaps the weapon is our fear." The debate raged for hours. Lyra listened quietly as humans argued about her fate as if she were a thing, not a person. She had lived through this once before. Her people judged, hunted, erased. Finally, Alara spoke again. Lyra, will you help us rebuild peace between humans and aliens, not with fear, but with your light? Lyra lifted her head. If you truly want peace, yes. But it will not be easy. Alara nodded. Nothing worth doing ever is. Then she turned to Rian. You'll stand by her? Rian looked at Lyra, then at the council. Always. Alara gave a faint smile. Then perhaps you both deserve a chance. The guards unlocked Ryan's cuffs. He turned toward Lyra, his eyes soft but certain. It's over, he whispered. She shook her head gently. No, Ryan, it's only beginning. At that moment, something extraordinary happened. The great glass dome above the chamber darkened, then filled with a gentle golden glow. Lyra's energy shimmered upward, forming a bright ring in the sky. The storm that had hovered over the city for weeks finally broke apart, revealing clear stars. Every council member stared in silent awe. Alara whispered, Maybe peace has a face after all. Ryan turned to Lyra, emotion filling his voice. You've changed everything. Not just for them. For me. She smiled, tears shining in her golden eyes. You changed me first. They stood together as the light spread over the city, washing away the shadows. But somewhere deep within the council tower, hidden behind dark glass, a figure watched them in silence. A man with a scarred face and cold eyes, General Core, whispering into a comm device, Let them dream of peace. It will make the fall easier. Months passed since the council hearing that changed everything. The world of Erebos 9 was no longer the same. Where smoke once rose, gardens now grew. Where soldiers once marched, children of both races played side by side. The great steel towers that had been gray for centuries now shimmered with golden lights. Lights powered by Lumerian energy, peaceful and clean. At the center of it all stood Lyra, the alien once called a beggar. She now walked beside Commander Rian Thorne, not as a prisoner or a secret, but as a symbol of peace. And soon, his wife. The people called her the Light of Erebos. Some feared her still, but most had come to love her gentle voice and glowing eyes that never looked down on anyone. She spoke to the crowds about unity, about the beauty of two worlds sharing one sky. Once I begged for food, she said in one of her speeches, her voice soft but steady. Now I beg only for peace, and not just for us, but for the children who will come after. The crowd roared with cheers. That evening, as the sun set in a wave of orange light, Ryan stood on the balcony of the new Peace Hall. He wore a formal uniform, his hair brushed back, his old scars fading under the soft glow of the city. Behind him, footsteps echoed, light and familiar. Lyra appeared dressed in a simple gown woven with silver threads that shimmered faintly like starlight. Her golden eyes reflected the sunset. You look beautiful, Ryan said quietly. She smiled. You said that yesterday, too. I'll say it every day until the stars go dark, he replied, half teasing, half serious. Lyra looked out over the horizon, where humans and aliens were rebuilding together. I never thought I'd see this world, she whispered. I used to dream of light. Now it's real. Ryan turned toward her. You made it real? She shook her head gently. We made it. For a moment, they stood in silence, hand in hand, watching the city heal. It felt like a dream, the kind that comes after centuries of nightmares. The wedding was small but beautiful. Humans and aliens stood together in the central plaza under a transparent dome that showed the stars. The air was filled with soft music and floating petals of glowing flowers, gifts from the hidden colony. Kyle, the old friend who once doubted her, stood as witness. Council leader Alara smiled proudly as she spoke the vows. Do you, Rian Thorne, promise to stand beside her, not as commander and soldier, but as equal and companion? Ryan looked at Lyra with quiet certainty. I do. And you, Lyra of the Lumerians, do you choose to walk with him through peace and storm, through darkness and light? Lyra's golden eyes shone with tears. I do. As they kissed, the entire dome filled with soft golden light, her gift to the people. For a brief magical moment, every light in the city flickered in unison, glowing like hearts beating together. The crowd cheered. Even those who once hated aliens bowed their heads in awe. Later that night after the celebration, Lyra and Ryan walked through the quiet garden near the Peace Hall. The moonlight painted their faces silver. "Do you think it will last?" she asked softly. "The peace?" "Yes," Ryan took her hand. "As long as people like you exist, yes." But as he said those words, a faint click echoed from the shadows. His soldier's instincts kicked in. He pulled Lyra close. A shot fired. A bright red beam cut through the night, hitting the ground beside them. From the darkness stepped General Kor, his armor cracked and his eyes burning with hate. "So this is what peace looks like?" he growled. "A human kneeling beside a Lumerian witch?" Ryan aimed his sidearm. "It's over, Kor. Put the weapon down." Kor laughed bitterly. "Over? No, it's only the beginning of your betrayal." He fired again. This time the beam struck Lyra's shoulder. She gasped and fell to her knees, light spilling from the wound like liquid gold. "Lyra!" Ryan caught her, panic filling his eyes. But before he could move, her hand touched his cheek. Her voice was weak but calm. "Don't hate him, Ryan. Hate builds more darkness." Her light began to spread, soft and warm, surrounding them both. The golden glow flowed across the garden, wrapping even Kor in its gentle warmth. He froze, his weapon trembling in his hand. What are you doing?" he whispered. "I forgive you," Lyra said softly. The beam in his hand flickered and died. Kor dropped to his knees, tears falling silently. Her wound healed slowly as her light faded. Ryan held her close, his eyes full of awe. "You saved even him," she smiled weakly. "Peace means saving the lost, too." Days later, the city honored her as the first ambassador of light, the bridge between two races. Ryan stood beside her, no longer just a soldier, now the husband of the woman who changed a world. Under the glowing banners of unity, Lyra addressed the crowd one last time. "Once I was a beggar under your neon sky. You looked away, but someone didn't. One human stopped and saw me not as a stranger, but as someone worth saving. That is where peace begins, in one small act of kindness." Her light flared gently across the plaza, warm and calm. From that day forward, humans and aliens shared the same dawn, their skies no longer divided. And when the sun rose over Erebos 9 the next morning, it reflected on two figures standing together, the soldier and the beggar, now husband and wife, their hands entwined, their hearts one with the light that would never fade.